Voletta Wallace stood in a Harlem church basement this past February, clutching a battered silver boombox that had once belonged to her son. She pressed play, and the opening chords of Juicy filled the room. Tears streamed down her face, raw, uncontrollable, dignified all at once. Christopher's words were my therapy, she whispered to the small crowd. Weeks later, she was gone, taking decades of grief with her. What she didn't take, though, were the secrets she'd spent 28 years chasing. Secrets that may finally surface as a very different courtroom prepares to put Sean Diddy Combs on trial. Not for music, but for manipulation, trafficking, and a trail of fear that some insiders say began the night Biggie Smalls was unalived. Ready? Because once we open this file, nothing is the same. Christopher Wallace felt trapped. Bad Boy's glossy videos and champagne-drenched after-parties hid a harsher truth. The money just wasn't flowing his way. In early '97, he flashed a friend, bodyguard Gene Deal, a brand new contract for a supergroup called The Commission. Charlie Baltimore, Cameron, Lil Kim, Junior Mafia, and Biggie himself poised to split a reported $62 million. That deal, Big told Gene, would let him cut ties with Bad Boy for good. But he also joked, "Man, I'm broke." Broke? The hottest rapper in the world. It wasn't a punchline, it was a battle cry. Because the minute Biggie tried to leave, he turned from prized asset to ticking liability. And here's the timeline nobody forgets. LA party, Peterson Automotive Museum, 12:45 a.m., March 9th. A black Chevy Impala creeps beside his SUV. 4 shots, 1 superstar gone. A rap kingdom without its king, and a record label suddenly free to repress albums, re-sign catalogs, and collect royalties that flow forever. Within weeks, Rolling Stone magazine offered Bad Boy a memorial cover, Biggie in crown, all marble and majesty. But Sean Combs said no. "He's dead," he snapped, according to former COO Kirk Burroughs. Puff wanted the spotlight for himself, the July '97 issue that anointed him the new king of hip-hop. 2 years later, he put it more bluntly. His passing added to the fame. At least 2 million copies of my album sold because of it. Critics gasped. Accountants smiled. Life After Death rocketed to #1, moving more units posthumously than projected, while Combs launched his solo debut, No Way Out, on the tidal wave of sympathy. Fans started asking, was loyalty measured in Billboard positions? And if exploiting tragedy felt that easy in '97, what else might have felt easy that night outside the Peterson? Detective Russell Poole stared at 2 case files, an off-duty LAPD officer tied to Death Row Records and the drive-by that killed Biggie. Threads crossed, witnesses vanished. Poole marched his suspicions upstairs, rogue officers moonlighting as Suge Knight's muscle, rivalries spilling out of the precinct and onto Wilshire Boulevard. The brass told him to bury the theory. Poole retired instead, spent the rest of his life chasing evidence, and died in 2015 clutching documents he believed proved the link. Voletta Wallace read every page. She filed wrongful death suits, sat in depositions for hours, and famously said, "I don't care if it takes 40 years, I'll wait." The LAPD's official stance: no comment on ongoing litigation. Translation: the file stayed locked. Faith Evans, vocalist, wife, and, as gossip would have it, wild card. Industry insider Jaguar Wright swears Faith wanted Tupac and not Biggie, even hinting that studio photos exist of the two in compromising positions. Faith waves it off as ridiculous, yet her recent clip on TikTok defending Diddy, Puff would never harm one of his best friends, raised eyebrows higher than Brooklyn skyscrapers. To Biggie's loyalists, that sounded like spin. To conspiracy hawks, it sounded like an admission that Faith knows more than she'll ever say. Either way, triangles make for explosive angles, and this one keeps journalists rewinding every flirtatious lyric and backstage snapshot from the mid-90s. March 25th, 2024. Dawn raids hit Diddy's estates in Los Angeles and Miami. Homeland Security agents cart out hard drives, party flyers labeled "Freak Off." And according to sworn testimony this May, industrial-sized tubs of baby oil. The indictment that followed reads like something out of a cartel drama. Sex trafficking, coercion, transportation for prostitution. Prosecutors link more than 30 plaintiffs, many previously silenced by NDAs, to a pattern of fear and payoff stretching back 2 decades. What does that have to do with Biggie? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Because the government's narrative hinges on total control. Friends, lovers, employees, anyone who might threaten the brand if they walked away. And remember, Biggie was planning the biggest walkaway of them all. She taught elementary school by day and read legal briefs by night. She confronted mayors, detectives, even studio executives, demanding files and footage. She produced documentaries, backed the film City of Lies, and politely turned down hush money offers, calling them blood checks. In 2010, her lawsuit was tossed. She refiled. In 2021, a judge urged settlement. She refused. Truth, she said, has no expiration date. On February 21, 2025, Truth paused. Voletta succumbed to natural causes at 78, surrounded by gospel hymns and photographs of the son who never made it to 25. But as mourners exited the funeral home, reporters were already camped outside, because subpoenas in the Combs trial hinted at sealed LAPD documents finally being requested by federal prosecutors. Voletta's body was still warm when her mission found new life. June 2025, Southern District of New York. Jury selection in United States versus Sean Combs ends with a warning. Evidence may include acts relevant to a pattern of racketeering, including unsolved violent crimes. Translation? If the feds can prove Combs ran bad boy like a criminal enterprise, anything that shows motive, like silencing a megastar who wanted out, could slip past the judge's gavel. Gene Deal is on the witness list, so is Kirk Burroughs. Cassie Ventura is expected to describe coercion methods that mirror what Biggie allegedly faced: isolation, debt, and threats disguised as brotherly love. Legal scholars whisper that an unredacted LAPD investigative summary might surface as 404B evidence, bad act proof. If that happens, millions will hear, for the first time under oath, why Detective Poole risked everything, and why Voletta Wallace never stopped knocking on courtroom doors. The cassette clicked off just as Voletta Wallace looked up, eyes shining but fierce. "I'll see him again," she said, meaning her son, or maybe the justice she'd chased since 1997. Whether you believe Diddy orchestrated a killing, protected dirty cops, or is merely the unluckiest mogul in music history, one fact is louder than any bass line. The truth always finds another verse. In the coming weeks, jurors will hear stories of freak-offs, NDAs, and contracts that smelled like golden handcuffs. Somewhere inside that swirl is a bullet-riddled Chevy Impala and a mother's unanswered prayer. Does justice delayed still matter? Drop your thoughts below, because the next headline might just rewrite hip-hop history. And this time, nobody's hitting the mute button.